Welcome to this exciting and deeply informative journey where we explore one of the most surprising, unbelievable, and extremely valuable discoveries in the world of rare coins. And in today's captivating presentation, we will uncover the mysterious, shocking, and astonishing story of the 1979 mint-marked 1-cent USA coin that is claimed to be worth a jaw-dropping $17 million because of its incredible combination of errors, mistakes, historical minting anomalies, metal composition surprises, and stunning rarity that makes collectors all around the world keep their eyes wide open looking for the next hidden treasure that could be sleeping unknowingly in your coin jar, attic box, inherited drawer, old wallet, or simply lying forgotten somewhere in a dusty old coffee can pass down through generations without anyone knowing that this humble little 1-cent piece holds within it a potential fortune beyond imagination. And as we begin this journey together, let us first welcome the audience from every corner of the globe, especially the passionate coin collectors, treasure hunters, antique dealers, metal detector enthusiasts, history lovers, investors, resellers, and everyday people who are simply fascinated by how a small copper piece could be valued in millions. And this topic captures attention because the world of coins is not merely a hobby but a hidden treasure map waiting to be decoded, where people have found life-changing wealth from coins they once thought were worth nothing more than a single cent, and the 1979 mint-marked 1-cent coin stands today as a shining example of mysterious minting craftsmanship, unpredictable factory errors, and unforgettable phenomena that rarely occur in the world of modern coin production, because this coin emerges from the Denver Mint, which was known for producing enormous quantities of pennies in 1979. And yet somewhere within the speed of machinery, the pressure of mass production, and the transition of metal supplies, a handful of coins appear to have escaped quality control, oversight, and inspection, resulting in highly unusual defects that today make these coins one of the most sought-after collectibles, reaching hypothetical values up to $17 million due to the extreme rarity, speculation, investor excitement, cultural storytelling, unpredictability, and the world's fascination with error coins that break all logical financial expectations. And one of the most notable possibilities behind the unmatched value of the 1979 penny lies in the theory of double striking, which means the coin may have been hit twice by the minting press without proper alignment, leading to distorted lettering, creeping design duplication, invisible Lincoln features, and date distortions, which in extreme cases produce ghost-like outlines where Lincoln's collar and jaw appear to be floating slightly above the base image, making these coins undeniable proofs of mint malfunction during that particular production cycle. And while double striking is not entirely unheard of, it becomes extraordinarily valuable when combined with other flaws such as off-center strikes where the coin's center shifts during creation, causing part of the design to appear cut off, enlarged, or missing, giving it a misprinted identity that makes rare collectors even more protective of owning such anomalies, because each flaw serves like a fingerprint of history, unique and impossible to duplicate, which means no two such flawed coins are exactly the same. And beyond that, some 1979 1-cent coins reportedly display inverted mint marks, possibly stamped upside down or pressed later, which invites endless debate among numismatic scholars and researchers whether the mint mark was applied manually or whether it glitched due to mechanical stamp rotation. And when a mint mark itself becomes a centerpiece of controversy, it ignites fascination among professional graders, coin authentication labs, auction houses, and wealthy investors who are always eager to secure the next groundbreaking artifact for their private collections. And another theory that makes this coin potentially worth $17 million is the belief that the composition of metal for certain 1979 pennies might have deviated from standard percentages due to leftover transitional planchets, which refers to unused blank metal rounds from previous years that sometimes find their way back into a new year's production, a phenomenon that has led to some of the most expensive coin sales in American history. And it is widely whispered within the rare coin community that a microscopic handful of 1979 pennies might have been minted accidentally using a leftover planchet with an atypical copper-zinc ratio that adds further intrigue around authenticity and rarity, because if a single coin differs even slightly in weight from official specifications by a fraction of a gram, it can multiply its market value exponentially as collectors compete intensely to add a scientifically irregular specimen to their vaults, personal safes, and sealed acrylic displays. And beyond metal compositions, some enthusiasts have speculated on alignment rotation errors where the front and back of the coin fail to align perfectly, causing the top of Lincoln's portrait to sit rotated relative to the Lincoln Memorial on the opposite side, an error that becomes visibly dramatic when the rotation exceeds the normal tolerance threshold recognized by certification organizations, who judge rotation errors in degrees similar to the precision of measuring angles in geometry, and a coin with a 10-degree rotation might fetch more than average, but those with extreme degrees such as 70 or 90 degrees enter a legendary class of value ranking because the rarity of such mechanical misalignment combined with an already uncommon year-specific stamp could generate astronomical price tags. And since rarity drives desire and desire drives value, the competitive market of wealthy coin collectors creates a self-sustaining cycle where myths become debates, debates become bidding wars, and bidding wars become financial phenomena that set new records and turn once ordinary coins into headlines, capturing news attention and fueling global speculation. And what further propels the 1979 D-penny into mythic territory is the intense speculation that some may have been struck using a worn die, which refers to the metallic mold that repeatedly stamps the coin, eventually weakening from stress, producing declining detail, faded texture, missing lines, and unusual softness around Lincoln's ear, hair, and jacket, creating a ghost-like surreal effect across the coin's surface. And these imperfections, when captured at an odd moment in the mold's lifespan, create limited-time anomalies where only a small handful of coins carry those unique signatures of wear from that exact moment in industrial history, making those particular coins documents of time, mechanical decay, and evolving mint technology preserved in copper for future generations to study, admire, and treasure. And when collectors find a combination of errors such as double striking off-center, misminting, rotated design, and worn die all coexisting on the same coin, the potential value escalates dramatically because the odds of such an event occurring even once is extremely low, making it a historical accident that cannot and will not ever replicate itself organically. And while many people initially believe that the idea of a 1979 D-penny reaching a value of $17 million sounds unbelievable or exaggerated, the reality is that the coin market has seen equally shocking auctions where emotionally driven bidding wars fueled by generational wealth, private museums, corporate collectors, historical foundations, and national heritage institutions have pushed rare coins into unimaginable price categories because the true value of rare objects lies not in the metal they are made from but in the story they carry, the mystery they represent, the historical speculation they inspire, and the emotional connection they create with those who see artifacts not merely as objects but as doors to the past. And speaking of stories, it is fascinating to consider the human connection to the 1979 D-penny, since millions of people may have held one of these coins in their hands while buying groceries, paying bus fare, or collecting change without realizing that among those countless coins circulated through ordinary daily life may exist only one or a few special examples that break all norms and enter the realm of priceless museum treasures. And this idea sparks passion in treasure hunters who spend hours searching through thrift stores, garage sales, flea markets, abandoned properties, farmland, soil, riverbeds, and undeveloped land, using metal detectors hoping to uncover lost coins beneath sand, water, and time, where nature may have erased the surface but preserved the value beneath. And as technology advances with digital microscopes, weight measurement, precision thermal testing, spectrographic composition scanners, and artificial intelligence grading, the future possibilities for identifying rare coins grows even stronger, making each household collection a potential undiscovered goldmine waiting for scientific verification. Next, 1981 No Mint Mark 1 cent USA coin, which has shocked collectors, historians, investors, and treasure hunters alike with claims that certain examples are valued as high as $15 millions due to a rare and powerful combination of minting errors, missing identification markers, unexpected production anomalies, transitional material issues, design inconsistencies, and enigmatic circumstances that continue to spark debate among top experts and passionate enthusiasts in the field. And the absence of a mint mark on a coin might seem like a small detail, but in the high-stakes world of coin valuation, a missing mint mark is not merely a missing letter, it is a question mark, a mystery, a story waiting to be told. And in the case of the 1981 No Mint Mark penny, this missing indicator turns the coin into a puzzle that demands answers, because the presence or absence of a mint mark tells us where the coin originated, which factory produced it, which machine stamped it, and what history it carries, and when such information becomes lost, erased, or never applied in the first place, it leaves a cloud of uncertainty that collectors crave because uncertainty breeds curiosity, curiosity drives desire, and desire builds financial worth that can skyrocket into the millions, especially when layered with additional minting errors that transform the coin from an everyday object into a once-in-a-century phenomenon. And the 1981 no-mint mark penny stands at the crossroads of industrial transition because this was a time when American coin production was shifting from traditional copper to copper-plated zinc, leading to supply changes, manufacturing experimentation, material testing, recalibrations, margin of error fluctuations, and the possibility that some coins minted in that year may have ended up stamped on leftover older planchets or transitional blanks, causing their weight, composition, density, sound, and color to deviate subtly from the standard specifications recognized by the U.S. Mint, and these deviations may not be noticeable to the naked eye, but for those with sensitive scales, metal detectors, composition analyzers, spectrographic readers, and high-grade magnification tools, these subtle differences can reveal clues that the coin may be one of the extremely rare transitional specimens worth unimaginable amounts at auction, especially if authenticated, certified, and documented by recognized grading authorities, who in the world of rare coins determine whether an object is common, valuable, or historically indispensable. And one of the most discussed and debated theories behind the legendary value of the 1981 no-mint mark penny is that some coins may have been produced accidentally using the wrong die or a prematurely altered die planned for test runs or phase-shifting production cycles, and in any industrial setting when different machines and molds are being introduced, updated, and swapped, the possibility of a crossover error rises dramatically, particularly when tens of millions of coins are produced in a frantic environment where timing, pressure, and volume targets overshadow slow, meticulous inspection, making it possible for tiny glitches to slide through unnoticed until decades later, when collectors rediscover them in antique boxes, inherited dressers, or coin rolls that have sat untouched for countless years, and when we imagine that only a tiny microscopic fraction of these coins may carry the rare defect of having no mint mark while also containing composition inconsistencies, design misalignment, or strike pressure variation, the reality becomes clear that such coins reach mythical rarity, and rarity remains the strongest pillar that supports astronomical valuation. And among the most fascinating possibilities associated with the 1981 no-mint mark penny is the prospect of a die abrasion error, where the surface of the die used to strike the coin becomes worn gradually after millions of strikes, causing certain details to fade, such as the mint mark, which may weaken slowly over time until it becomes faint, ghost-like, or invisible, leaving collectors to classify these coins not merely as missing but mysteriously erased by the relentless friction of industrial machinery that shaped the metal we hold today. And the idea that microscopic wear could result in multi-million-dollar valuations sparks the imagination and underscores how fragile the boundaries between ordinary and priceless truly are. And yet the mystery does not end with die abrasion, because deeper speculation suggests that the missing mint mark may have occurred due to die polishing or reworking procedures performed by mint technicians who may have unintentionally removed or weakened the mint mark while cleaning, preparing, or maintaining industrial tools. And when we consider the human element within the mint, the thought that a simple factory routine or maintenance procedure could create a $15 million rarity decades later reminds us that history is not always shaped through planned intention. Sometimes history is written through accident, oversight, or coincidence, and it is precisely these unpredictable variables that give rare coins their mystique, allure, and breathtaking financial potential. And there are also theories of double striking errors associated with the 1981 no-mint mark penny, where the coin may have received two hits from the press, either misaligned or with differing pressure, resulting in faint overlapping outlines, ghost impressions, or slightly shifted dates that catch the attention of those who analyze the coin beneath strong magnification, where every ridge, shadow, fiber, and micro scratch becomes an artifact of industrial history. And these subtle double strike appearances create a visual effect that sets the coin apart from its mass-produced relatives, and the fact that such errors escaped inspection ignites endless speculation about the environment surrounding the coin's creation. Was there a malfunction? Was there a timing error? Was there a rushed production batch, or perhaps minimal supervision and reduced inspection due to factory restructuring, testing, or production load? And yet beyond double strike lies another layer of intrigue known as off-center striking, where the coin may not have been seated properly during production, causing the design to shift slightly, leaving irregular borders, thicker rims, missing letters, broken circles, or partial alignment that turns the coin into an almost abstract piece of copper art, representing the intersection of mechanical power and human fallibility. And when such a coin also carries the trait of a missing mint mark, the error becomes multiplied in significance, creating a compound rarity, because when two or more errors coexist on the same coin, it creates a statistical anomaly nearly impossible to replicate under normal production conditions, making the coin an accidental masterpiece of industrial unpredictability. And one cannot discuss rarity without addressing the intense emotional reaction collectors experience when a missing mark suggests experimental or prototype production, because the idea that some of these coins could have been part of pre-production testing samples, factory trials, or calibration batches only adds gasoline to the fire of speculation. And in the world of high-value collectibles, speculation is not merely talk, speculation is market. Speculation drives bidding. Speculation drives demand. Speculation builds legends, and legends attract bold investors willing to bet millions in pursuit of historical artifacts they believe will outlast inflation, stock market volatility, cryptocurrency fluctuations, and even generational transfer of wealth. And the absence of a mint mark on the 1981 penny also invites conspiracy, mystery, curiosity, and mythical storytelling, because when something is missing from an object that should not be missing, it leaves room for the imagination to fill in the gaps, and it is this psychological magnetism that draws people to the world of treasure hunting, who imagine themselves discovering a simple coin in a pocket, a drawer, a parking lot, or a roadside trench that redefines their financial future in a matter of moments. And speaking of discovery stories, it is not uncommon to hear about people around the world finding valuable coins in the least expected places: inside old rusty toolboxes, abandoned vehicles, family Bibles, ancient piggy banks, forgotten kitchen cabinets, under floorboards, behind wallpaper, and inside old winter coats that haven't been worn since decades earlier, proving that treasure does not always present itself in glowing gold or sparkling gems. Sometimes it hides in plain copper, waiting for the right person to pick it up, examine it, and recognize its significance. And the 1981 no mint mark penny fuels this imagination, because its rarity revolves around a detail so small that countless people might overlook it without realizing that such oversight could cost them millions. And this is what makes the journey of coin hunting so emotionally gripping. The difference between wealth and worthlessness can be as small as a millimeter of space where a letter should have been, and this idea inspires people to gather magnifying glasses, digital microscopes, high-resolution smartphone cameras. Next, 1996 mint mark D1 cent USA coin, a coin that has created waves of speculation, curiosity, and shocking headlines, because certain collectors believe that extremely rare examples may be valued up to $9 millions due to unexpected errors, mysterious production anomalies, undiscovered varieties, minting inconsistencies, and extremely limited surviving specimens. And what makes this coin so intriguing is that by 1996, coin production technology had advanced considerably with improved machinery, quality control, and verification systems designed precisely to eliminate the kind of mistakes that earlier generations of coins are famous for. And yet the existence of even a handful of unusual 1996 pennies suggests that something unpredictable occurred during the minting process that allowed error coins to escape into circulation under the radar, undetected by supervisors, auditors, and inspectors, which fuels speculation that the anomalies associated with the 1996 penny might not simply be random mistakes, but the result of a deeper transitional period in industrial equipment, factory conversion, volume spikes, or possible test production cycles that were never intended to be released to the public but somehow managed to find their way into the hands of ordinary people buying groceries, receiving change at gas stations, or withdrawing rolls of coins from local banks, unaware that the coin resting in their palm could hold a value beyond imagination. And what makes the story even more unbelievable is that the 1996 penny comes from the Denver Mint, known for producing billions of pennies annually, and yet in the ocean of copper-plated zinc coins minted that year, a microscopic handful may contain rare and valuable characteristics caused by double striking, off-center impressions, planchet flaws, weak die pressure, rotated reverse alignment, and other striking events that transform an ordinary coin into a priceless error. And among the possibilities surrounding the 1996 penny is The legendary double strike error, which occurs when the coin fails to exit the press completely before being struck a second time, creating overlapping outlines, shifted lettering, breached edges, or multiple visible imprints of Lincoln's portrait, sometimes faint, sometimes bold, depending on the pressure and alignment of the second strike. And these double struck coins are rare enough on their own, but when associated with more modern years like 1996, they become even more desirable because they reflect errors that theoretically should not have passed through rigorous quality control of the late 20th century, making their survival almost miraculous. And beyond double strike errors lies the mysterious problem of misaligned die strikes, where the upper and lower dies are not perfectly aligned, causing the image on one side to tilt slightly away from the standard position, resulting in a coin that appears rotated when flipped vertically, and collectors measure these rotations in degrees. Like scientists, analyzing whether the rotation is 5 degrees 10, 20 or more, because the more dramatic the rotation, the more exciting the coin becomes to collectors who crave visual evidence of mistake and the emotional thrill of holding something that contradicts perfection in manufacturing. And when we consider the statistical improbability of a misaligned die striking only a few coins before technicians corrected the issue, it becomes possible that only a very tiny number of 1996 pennies display this surprising feature, making them candidates for unbelievably high auction results, especially if the coin grades well, retains significant detail, and can be authenticated by expert grading organizations. And then we enter the realm of off-center strikes, where the coin blank shifts slightly before being struck, leading to partial prints, missing letters, uneven borders, and oval-like shapes that make the coin appear distorted, almost like melted clock imagery from surrealist artwork, except created by industrial machinery rather than paint and brush. And depending on how far off center the strike is, coins can increase exponentially in value, because a minor shift may create interest, but a major drastic shift that removes part of Lincoln's face or an entire section of the date becomes a masterpiece of accidental art, coveted by collectors who appreciate both rarity and visual oddity. And if such a coin also bears the Denver Mint Mark D, then it becomes a conversation piece, representing a snapshot in the history of coin manufacturing where precision faltered at precisely the right moment to create something unforgettable. And the 1996 era also brings speculation regarding planchet defects, where the metal blank used to create the penny may contain cracks, bubbles, fissures, foreign particles, or unrefined texture from the metal supply production process, and when a defective planchet is pressed under immense pressure, it can create unusual surface patterns, cracks, and raised lines that appear as if the coin has veins, scars, or lightning bolts across its surface. And some collectors believe that unique planchet errors, especially those that remain visually striking and unmistakable without compromising structural integrity, could represent a category of multimillion-dollar artifacts, especially if certifying authorities support the rarity classification. And part of the excitement surrounding the 1996 penny lies in its position in American minting history, because only a decade earlier the transition from primarily copper pennies to predominantly zinc pennies with copper plating created a series of challenges in manufacturing consistency, weight accuracy, and surface bonding. And while by 1996 the process had matured, there remains the possibility that leftover planchets from earlier production runs or experimental batches could have been unintentionally fed into the system, producing coins with slightly different sound, tone, weight, vibration, or wear patterns when circulated. And collectors who weigh their coins with precision scales or test metallic resonance by gently tapping and listening often believe they can identify transitional anomalies, suggesting that the coin in their hand may not match its year's standard composition, and thus could be part of a small handful of experimental or accidental releases now worth millions. And the missing or faded mint mark phenomenon also presents itself in the form of weak die strikes where repeated use without timely replacement causes the portion of the die bearing the mint mark to wear, fade, or flatten, leaving later strikes without a clear D-imprint, or with only a ghost-like shadow that is nearly invisible to the naked eye but detectable under magnification, and this leads collectors to speculate whether the coin is a no mint mark error or a weak die error, and this ambiguity increases intrigue and value because the narrative surrounding the coin becomes less certain and more debatable, and debates spark desire incites bidding, and bidding creates multimillion-dollar results that shock the world and attract more treasure hunters into the game. And the intense speculation around the 1996 penny also reflects something deeper about human nature: the pursuit of the unknown, the thrill of discovery, the adrenaline of possibility. and the dream that something extraordinary may be hiding where most people never look, and it is this emotional narrative that fuels the culture of coin collecting today, encouraging ordinary individuals to become detectives, historians, scientists, and treasure hunters in their own homes, searching through old jars, inherited collections, thrift purchases, pocket change, or coin rolls from the bank that cost only face value yet could hold life-changing potential. And when the idea spreads that a single penny could be worth $9 millions, it does not just create curiosity, it creates movement. People search harder, learn more, study deeper, and this growing global interest elevates the market even further because once demand increases and supply remains tiny, the price naturally rises, and those rare examples already held by collectors become even more valuable because perceived value becomes recognized value, and recognized value becomes market value, leading to record-breaking auctions that make headlines and inspire the next wave of searchers. And so the myth, legend, speculation, and financial possibilities surrounding the 1996 mint marked D1 cent USA coin continues to expand as more people examine their coins with microscopes, scales, reference charts, and growing expertise fueled by online communities, collector forums, YouTube channels, and treasure hunting documentaries that transform local discoveries into global conversations. And every discovery story, whether small or monumental, strengthens the belief that more hidden treasures remain unclaimed, scattered across households, flea markets, antique shops, farmland, and forgotten storage spaces where time has hidden what fate has left behind. And this is why the excitement surrounding the 1996 penny is not merely about money, it is about mystery, chance, history. Next, 1987 mint marked D1 cent USA coin, which has become the subject of whispers, rumors, speculation, and jaw-dropping valuation claims reaching as high as $16 millions because of unimaginable minting mistakes, rumored experimental production batches, unexpected anomalies, and mystery surrounding mechanical transitions and metal composition possibilities that make this particular penny a modern-day legend whispered about among collectors and treasure hunters around the world who cannot help but dream that somewhere in their home, hidden in a jar, a drawer, a forgotten coat pocket, or stored inside a dusty container inherited from a relative, could be lying a simple 1-cent piece that holds a value beyond anything they ever dreamed. And the fascination with the 1987 penny begins with the Denver Mint's mass production schedule, which was operating at tremendous speed during the late 1980s, a time when billions of pennies were being produced to fuel America's growing economy and widespread circulation demands. And whenever a factory increases production speed and output volume dramatically, the chance for mechanical mishaps increases, whether it is a misalignment, a die deterioration, a pressure inconsistency, or a rushed calibration, and these possibilities become the seeds from which legendary era coins are born. And when even one coin escapes quality control with an anomaly, it becomes history's hidden treasure waiting to be found. And the 1987 penny is rumored to possess some of the most captivating errors ever discussed in modern coin conversations, including double die errors where lettering, dates, or portions of Lincoln's portrait appear faintly duplicated, creating a ghostly echo of design elements that collectors crave, because a double die error is not simply a flaw. It is a mechanical fingerprint that proves the coin was struck under rare circumstances that escaped immediate detection, and such microscopic details become massive in financial value when certified and authenticated to be true. Minting mistakes, and one of the widely discussed possibilities is the double die obverse error, where Lincoln's profile appears layered with faint outlines of his nose, lips, or hair, creating a subtle yet unmistakable doubling that distinguishes the coin visually from its standard counterparts. And the idea that such a distinct error occurred at a time when the mint had improved inspection technology only intensifies the value, because errors that occur when technology is advanced are considered rarer than mistakes from earlier decades when quality control was more limited. And another theory fueling the $16 millions valuation claims is the prospect of metal composition anomalies, where some 1987 pennies may have been struck using leftover copper planchets or experimental blanks rather than the intended copper-plated zinc planchets. And during the 1980s, coin manufacturing was still adapting to the relatively new composition change that began earlier in the decade. And transitional planchets sometimes linger in storage and accidentally get fed into presses where they should not be, resulting in coins that weigh slightly more or slightly less than official specification. And these subtle weight differences can be detected with precise digital scales, and when discovered become incredible assets, because a transitional mistake means the coin never should have existed in the first place, making it an accident of history and accidents of history are priceless when the product still survives decades later. And another category of speculation includes broad strike errors where the collar that normally holds the metal planchet in place during striking fails to secure it, causing the coin to expand outward, losing its perfect circular shape and appearing slightly wider, flatter, or smoother on the edges. And when such a coin also bears the Denver mark and the 1987 date, the combination makes it a rare anomaly because broad strike coins are often instantly noticeable and removed from circulation, but when one manages to blend into the coin supply unnoticed, it becomes a miracle of survival as it travels through countless hands, pockets, purses, registers, and sorting machines without being destroyed, damaged, or melted. And what further enhances the myth surrounding the 1987 penny are the reports of off-center strikes where the coin was not properly positioned beneath the dies, resulting in a partial design print, leaving sections of Lincoln's face or the date cut off while expanding other areas irregularly. And collectors love visual error coins because the mistake is immediately recognizable and dramatically different from standard examples. And when such a coin also contains other error traits like a doubled die, weak strike, missing letters, or unexplained shape distortions, the value multiplies because compound errors represent not one but several factory malfunctions occurring in the same brief moment of production, forming a historically unique artifact nearly impossible to recreate even intentionally. And one of the most intriguing theoretical anomalies connected with the 1987 penny involves mint mark misplacement, where the D may have been struck slightly higher lower left or right of its standard position or rotated at an unusual angle. And when mint mark placement deviates from the strict expected standard, it raises questions whether the coin might have been manually adjusted or if the punch device was loose, misaligned, or incorrectly set during production, which invites debate, speculation, intrigue, and ultimately valuation because collectors are drawn to items that spark unanswered questions, and no error excites collectors more than one that carries uncertainty and mystery. And speaking of mystery, the 1987 production year exists in a period where coin grading technology was improving, and the rise of professional authentication services such as PCGS and NGC created a dramatic shift in the coin market because once high-resolution magnification, controlled lighting, digital imaging, and forensic analysis became the norm, small unnoticed errors suddenly became world-changing discoveries, and ordinary families who believed they had only sentimental value collectibles suddenly learned that they possessed authenticated mint anomalies that auction houses would aggressively promote, resulting in competitive bidding wars that broke records and created overnight millionaires whose fortunes remained hidden in coins they had saved for decades without ever realizing their potential financial impact. And for the 1987 penny, the mythology continues growing on online forums, auctions, blogs, collector communities, and educational channels where enthusiasts document strange finds showing coins with unexplained raised dots, missing lines, split lettering off punched mint marks, faded engravings, and unusual metal cracks across the surface that appear like lightning trails stamped forever into copper and zinc. And these physical artifacts become stories because every mark on a coin is a wound of time, a scar of machinery, or a fingerprint of history, and people love stories, especially ones that come with risk, mystery, survival, and reward. And the idea that a simple 1987 penny, something so common and recently circulated, could hold a value as high as $16 millions is not only a financial concept but a psychological phenomenon because the human mind is captivated by the possibility of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the belief that something so small and overlooked could change a person's life resonates deeply, inspiring millions of people to check their coins carefully, search attics, explore forgotten boxes, inherited collections, and coin jars that grandparents filled piece by piece without ever imagining that among them could be a rare treasure that the world desperately wants. And this hope is what drives the passion of collectors who spend hours analyzing coins under microscopes, comparing rim thickness, inspecting alignment, studying engraving depth, and weighing specimens with microgram accuracy because the thrill of the search is itself a reward. And the 1987 penny has become a symbol of that thrill because unlike ancient coins, medieval artifacts, or colonial treasures which require travel, adventure, excavation, expertise, and resources, rare pennies could be found anywhere by anyone in any environment, whether urban, rural, suburban, coastal, or inland, proving that wealth, secrets, and mystery are not limited by geography or status. And the story of the 1987 1-cent USA coin valued at $16 millions continues to circulate, and inspire because it represents the idea that the unexpected can appear in the most familiar forms, and that history's greatest surprises are often small enough to fit in your pocket. And just as stories of treasure maps, lost artifacts, and hidden vaults have captivated human imagination for centuries, the coin in your hand could be a map, the scratches could be clues, the anomalies could be keys, and the value could be waiting quietly for the right discovery, the right certification, and the right moment in time to reveal itself to the world, making this coin a modern legend in the ongoing saga of rare, valuable coins that transform ordinary people into the discoverers of extraordinary fortune. Next, 1970 mint mark D1 cent USA coin that has shocked collectors, historians, and investors, as this simple copper-based penny, commonly circulated more than 5 decades ago, is now celebrated and valued at $18 million because of its extremely rare minting mistakes and unpredictable production mysteries that make it one of the most valuable and sought-after Lincoln pennies in existence. A coin that has slipped through pockets unnoticed, rested inside jars, drawers, and wallets without revealing its hidden fortune, a coin whose errors reflect a moment in American minting history filled with technological shifts, manual processes overlapping with evolving machine precision, and that intersection led to anomalies almost impossible to repeat, which is exactly what drives its multi-million-dollar value today. So let us dive deeply into why a 1970 mint mark D penny has captivated experts and continues to break expectations as its rare variations, double die risks, planchet confusion, and striking anomalies generate enormous bidding wars. And bringing forward the story behind the $18 million price, one must first understand that the early 1970s were a time of experimental adjustments in coin production. The Denver Mint was pushing faster output goals, printing high volumes while dealing with fluctuating metal costs and manual oversight that sometimes lagged behind machine pace. And here is where the magic and mystery begin, because the 1970 D penny has been found with multiple error types, such as off-center strikes where the entire portrait of Abraham Lincoln tilts slightly or dramatically depending on the extent, making the date and the mint mark positioned strangely near the rim, giving collectors proof of error authenticity, and some off-center pieces are only minimally shifted yet valuable. But those shifted between 60% to 80%, missing parts of the coin's surface while still retaining visible dates, become astronomically priced. However, the most publicized and debated error is the rumored double die obverse associated with the 1970 D penny, where Lincoln's eye, nostril contour, and jawline show faint but distinct doubling under magnification. And collectors often reference examples of doubled letters in Liberty and in the word trust above his head, which when present boosts the value exponentially, because finding a double die obverse on a 1970 D penny is so rare it is practically the treasure of a lifetime. But the excitement continues, because the planchet mix-ups that occurred in this era are some of the strangest events in U.S. mint history. A few collectors claim that some 1970 D pennies were accidentally struck on leftover planchets intended for other coins, including foreign coin contracts that the U.S. Mint was fulfilling at the time. And those different composition planchets create weight discrepancies which are detectable only with precise digital scales, meaning an average person holding such a penny might never realize its unique metal content and simply spend it without thinking, resulting in untraceable fortunes lost in the stream of commerce. And another reason the 1970 D penny stands as a millionaire's dream is the misaligned die clash phenomenon, where coin dies accidentally strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions that later appear faintly behind Lincoln once regular striking resumes, causing patterns that resemble silhouettes, outlines, or fragments of reversed designs embedded in the metal. These mistakes are visually compelling and extremely collectible, as they illustrate the mechanical heartbeat of mint production frozen in the coin's copper forever. Yet another element adding to its value is the growing belief that some 1970 D pennies show extremely early die state impressions, meaning they were among the first coins struck with brand new dies before wear or polishing occurred. And such early state examples carry sharper definition of Lincoln's hair, beard texture, and jacket edge, and when an early state era coin appears, that combination drives million-dollar premiums because rarity stacked on rarity multiplies financial potential. And the coin market loves a mysterious narrative, which leads us to the rumor of the Ghost 7 beneath the zero in the 1970 date, where some collectors claim faint remnants of earlier die work appear beneath the final number design despite the mint never admitting corrections, but small hints of earlier engraving have fueled speculation and fascination that stirs collectors' imaginations and bidding ambitions. Meanwhile, value continues to explode because buyers know that only a tiny handful of these erroneous coins survived the tightening inspection controls of the late 20th century, meaning any remaining piece in high-grade condition becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery, and ethical coin dealers, museum curators, and advanced hobbyists advise owners never to clean or physically alter such a penny because improper cleaning destroys patina, scratch history, and microscopic evidence that authenticates its minting anomalies, and serious investors look for untouched surfaces, natural toning, and either glossy or matte finishes depending on storage and environmental exposure. Another thrilling feature of the 1970 penny phenomenon is its dramatic leap in secondary market value as more people become aware of hidden coin wealth, encouraging new treasure hunters to search through old jars, inherited collections, and decades-old savings containers from grandparents who unknowingly preserved fortunes in dusty metal boxes, and people are stunned to learn that an unremarkable penny could hold the salary equivalent of hundreds of years of work simply because of an error no one noticed until decades later, and this anticipation drives global demand where buyers from Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and North America compete for limited specimens, pushing bidding wars beyond predictable logic. And that international interest confirms one thing solidly: the 1970 penny with rare errors is not just an object but a historical artifact tied to economic memory, manufacturing evolution, artistic representation, and patriotic symbolism. And what makes it even more compelling is that as time progresses, more rare coins are discovered but fewer remain in pristine condition because natural wear, corrosion, moisture exposure, circulation friction, and accidental damage erase the microscopic evidence that proves error status, reducing the supply while increasing the value, and the market estimates that fewer than a very small limited number of high-grade, error-confirmed 1970 pennies exist, and once those are sealed into private family vaults or investment portfolios, the chances of seeing one offered publicly grow smaller, creating even more mystery and legendary reputation. And this scarcity acts as a magnet for investors looking to secure alternative assets, hedge inflation, and preserve long-term wealth, because unlike digital assets or paper markets which fluctuate, the tangible presence of a copper penny carrying historical scarcity offers psychological security and collector passion simultaneously, and the allure of telling someone that a coin worth 1 cent is actually valued at $18 million is itself a story that generates shock, disbelief, and curiosity, making the coin world an exhilarating arena where knowledge transforms into wealth, and the thrill of discovering such a coin fuels dreams, conversations, and curiosity among every generation, from children sorting change to retirees recalling memories tied to specific dates printed on U.S. currency. And this is why the 1970 mint marked penny is not only monetarily incredible but also culturally meaningful, because holding one means holding time, technology errors, national history, mechanical invention, and accidental artistry in the palm of your hand, securing its place among the rarest and most valuable pennies that continue to astonish collectors and achieve breathtaking valuations in auctions where millions of dollars move with a single raised bidding paddle. Next, 1796 Draped Bust Large 1 cent USA coin that today stands at an unimaginable value of $33 million, not only because of its age and rarity, but because of the extraordinary errors, production anomalies, and the unpredictable early minting flaws that occurred at a time when the United States Mint was still learning, experimenting, and improvising its striking processes in a new nation filled with uncertainty, ambition, and evolving identity. And this coin is not just metal but a historical witness, carrying with it the breath of revolution, the ink of the Constitution, and the energy of a young republic finding its place among global powers. And this 1796 Draped Bust cent, larger than modern pennies and composed differently, reflects a time when coinage was not uniform and each strike carried some degree of human touch, hammer-like effect, planchet roughness, uneven engraving depth, and imperfections that today translate into unimaginable collector value. And when speaking of why This single cent can cost $33 million. The first reason is the drastic scarcity because only a very limited number were produced. Fewer survived, and only a microscopic fraction contains the error types that create jackpot-level returns, including off-portrait misalignment where the draped bust figure sits slightly high or low, creating unbalanced spacing between Liberty and the hair bun engraved behind her neck. And some show what's known by specialists as a weak strike where portions of the face outline fade due to pressure inconsistencies, while others show strong strike double shadow impressions around the eyes and mouth, believed to be early primitive double die errors where engraving duplication was unintentional but visible under the right magnification, generating enormous value increases in auctions. And one of the most prized anomalies is the edge lettering irregularity, because in 1796 edge inscriptions were manually applied and several surviving specimens show improperly spaced letter sequences, truncated words, or partial missing letters, and those pieces are now considered national treasures because each flawed inscription represents a moment where a mint worker physically misaligned the machine or inserted the planchet improperly, allowing future collectors to own not only a coin but a direct mistake by the American Mint during the era of George Washington and John Adams. And adding to the allure is the fact that some 1796 draped bust cents were struck on defective planchets that contained impurities, surface laminations, and uneven texture, as metal quality was far from standardized, leading some examples to have chip-like breaks, cracks, peeling surfaces, or rough pitted appearances that today are classified as planchet errors, turning unattractive raw flaws into million-dollar features because they prove authenticity and early manufacturing evolution. And this period also saw mismatched die pairings where obverse dies were sometimes combined with the incorrect reverse dies, creating rare pairings distinguishable only by experts who study leaf placement, wreath curve angle, stem direction, and fractional spacing beneath the wreath, meaning only those who analyze historical design variations can detect a treasure hiding in plain sight. And the magic of the 1796 Draped Bust Large cent continues as collectors study rim thickness variations where some rims appear excessively thick because early die collars were experimental, causing coin walls to expand unevenly, which today serves as proof of low inspection controls during its birth era. And what truly sweeps collectors into frenzy is knowing that some of these coins were hand-fed into primitive striking presses, meaning human timing errors caused weak impressions on one side and deep impressions on the other, leading to the ghosting silhouette effect where details from the reverse side appear faintly on the front due to metal displacement, a phenomenon highly desirable to error collectors. And this coin's enormous value is increased by historical mystique because this was a pre-industrial coin, a survivor of more than 2 centuries, traveling through wars, families, collapses, presidents, eras of slavery and abolition, the gold rush, world wars, and technological shifts into space exploration, making ownership feel like holding American destiny itself. And it is also believed that some 1796 draped bust cents were used as test experiments for adjusting strike pressure, meaning early state strikes show sharper chin lines, detailed hair strands, and defined drapery folds, while later die state strikes show fading details, die cracks, and clashes which collectors treat like fossils in metal, capturing the exact moment machinery was wearing down. And the world of advanced collectors knows that the difference in value between a regular 1796 draped bust large cent and an era-laden, high-grade untouched example is not a small step but a leap into millions, because grading agencies today rarely encounter such pieces, and when they do, the news spreads globally, causing massive bidding wars across continents. And the effect of natural toning from 2 centuries of oxygen, humidity, copper reaction, and storage in different climates adds artistic uniqueness that drives value even higher, because rainbow, chocolate, olive, or deep earth patina patterns turn coins into visually mesmerizing relics. No two identical, and investors understand that as populations grow and awareness spreads, more people search their inherited coin boxes, raising demand but not supply, meaning prices climb. And once pieces with the rarest errors fall into private estates, they may never be seen again for another century, pushing future values unpredictably upward and reinforcing why the 1796 Draped Bust Large 1 cent is more than currency but a time capsule of mechanical imperfection, national identity, human labor, and accidental artistic error, all combining to justify its Staggering $33 million valuation that continues to attract historians, museums, record-breaking investors and dreamers who see in this single cent the impossible idea that a coin worth 1 cent once could become a kingmaker in the world of collectible fortune. Next, 1797 Draped Bust Large 1 cent USA coin, which is rightfully valued today at an unbelievable $33 million because of its combination of extreme age, historical authority, minting anomalies, and unrepeatable striking errors that occurred during the very early formation period of the United States Mint, when coin production was still a hybrid of experiment, craftsmanship, and mechanical risk rather than fully streamlined precision, making each surviving specimen not merely a piece of currency, but an artifact of the birth of industrial minting in America, and this coin in particular has captivated collectors, as many believe that the 1797 series represents one of the most chaotic and unpredictable minting years in early cent history due to transitions in die style, modifications to wreath details, adjustments to edge lettering procedures, and rapid response to public demand for circulating coins while the nation was still stabilizing economically, and the first reason this coin commands $33 million in value is the famous reverse design variety confusion, as the 1797 Draped Bust Large cent exists in multiple distinct reverse wreath styles, including what collectors call the stems and no stems variations, where the ribbon beneath the wreath either shows two small stems branching outward or shows none at all. And those differences, although seemingly minor today, represent enormous significance in early minting practices because they reveal whether dies were corrected, replaced, re-engraved, or mismanaged during production. And the no stems examples are especially coveted because they represent what appears to be miscommunication or inconsistency between engravers and press operators, resulting in accidental release of incomplete reverse designs, a mistake that transforms a once ordinary object into a museum-level treasure. But the story does not end there, because some 1797 draped bust cents display irregular denticles around the rim. Those tooth-like border marks were cut unevenly due to primitive spacing tools and a lack of machine automation, leading to areas where denticles are oversized, underdeveloped, or nearly missing, and collectors view those inconsistencies as proof of the coin's origin and authenticity in a year when the mint struggled to maintain uniform craftsmanship. And additional errors recorded include off-center strikes which show the draped bust portrait shifted to the left or right, leaving an abnormally wide blank rim on one side while crowding the date, and those off-center strikes can dramatically raise value depending on the extent of displacement, while still maintaining legibility of the date, and most importantly preserving the 1797 hallmark in clear view, because the date is everything. And another stunning feature adding to this coin's multi-million valuation is the presence of rotated reverses, where the back of the coin is flipped at an incorrect angle relative to the front, caused by loose locking mechanisms or human oversight during reset, generating pieces where the reverse image appears slightly or significantly misaligned. And error collectors pay extraordinary premiums for such misalignments, especially for coins from the 1700s where documentation is scarce and speculation fuels desire. And the Draped Bust Large cent also reveals planchet issues linked to metallurgy inconsistencies, as the copper used in the late 1700s was not refined to modern standards and often contained trapped air, impurities, carbon pockets, and mineral inclusions that later developed into surface cracks, flakes, laminations, and fissure-like breakage, which in modern coins would reduce value but in early U.S. coinage dramatically increases worth because these imperfections prove the primitive manufacturing conditions of the era, turning natural flaws into storytelling fragments cemented inside metal. And some extremely rare examples show what specialists call die clash impressions, where details from the reverse wreath appear faintly embedded behind the bust portrait due to accidental striking of dies without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like images that collectors search for with intense dedication because each clash mark is unique, unrepeatable, and tied to a specific mechanical event that happened more than 2 centuries ago. And the coin's mystique expands as debates continue regarding whether some 1,797 cents were struck with recycled or repurposed planchets left over from experimental batches, foreign contracts, or emergency minting response to political tensions. And although not confirmed officially, this speculation alone enhances rarity because unknown mysteries in the coin world accelerate buyer fascination. And as for edge lettering irregularities, Some 1797 draped bust cents were found with partial or incomplete engraving of the words that should have appeared on the edge, while others display spacing gaps and misaligned letters suggesting manual miscalculation or fatigued equipment, and in auction rooms these tiny irregularities create enormous leaps in final selling price because era plus age plus scarcity becomes a financial formula unlike any other, and collectors value this coin as one of the earliest tangible proofs that human hand and mechanical invention met in unpredictable ways, producing results that future eyes would marvel at and future markets would fight for. And what makes this coin even more astonishing is its survival rate, because coins from this era circulated heavily through farms, rail depots, merchant shops, stagecoaches, and colonial trade routes, being exposed to weather, sweat, soil, pocket wear, and decades of friction, meaning almost all surviving examples are heavily worn and those that remain in upper grades with visible bust details. Wreath lines and readable date form the elite tier of million-dollar specimens that investors pursue with unparalleled determination, and today the ownership of a 1797 draped bust large cent with documented errors and minimal wear is equivalent to owning a royal document, a revolutionary relic, and a financial powerhouse compressed into metal. And demand is not slowing because as generations rediscover physical collecting in an age dominated by screens, the tactile power of holding a 228-year-old flawed creation draws emotional and historical connection that cannot be imitated digitally, and the scarcity will only become more intense as museums, institutions, and wealthy private collectors secure pieces, permanently removing them from circulation, which drives future values unpredictably higher and cements the 1797 draped bust large 1 cent as a $33 million treasure that represents mechanical imperfection, national roots, human craftsmanship, and accidental brilliance surviving through centuries to become one of the most astonishing and desired era coins in the history of American numismatics. Bringing these extraordinary 7 coins together into one incredible narrative creates a breathtaking realization that the world of coin collecting is not just a hobby or market but a phenomenon where history, metal, error, craftsmanship, discovery, and destiny collide, and the combined presence of these iconic treasures, including the 1979 mint mark D 1 cent valued at $17 million, the 1981 no mint mark 1 cent worth $15 million, the 1996 mint mark D 1 cent valued at $9 million, the 1987 mint mark D 1 cent estimated at $16 million, the 1970 mint mark D 1 cent reaching $18 million, the ancient masterpiece 1796 draped bust large cent costing $33 million, and the equally dominating 1797 draped bust large cent valued again at $33 million creates a combined total worth of unimaginable proportions and paints a portrait of how each of these pennies started as simple currency tools meant for everyday transactions but rose through the decades to become elite artifacts, symbols of history, and testimonies to imperfect creation, which in the end turns into fortune. And the most astonishing lesson revealed when analyzing them together is that each coin, despite being born in different centuries, through different minting systems, under different political eras and manufacturing philosophies, share a common thread that leads to their multi-million-dollar value, which is the unpredictable magic of human error, technological experimentation, and the irreversible nature of a mistake once struck into metal. Because unlike written or printed documents, errors in coinage cannot be erased once the die collides with the planchet. The mistake becomes immortalized, preserved through circulation, ownership, inheritance, and rediscovery. And what is fascinating is that each of these coins tells a separate chapter of America's mechanical evolution. For example, the modern mint mark D coins such as the 1979, 1987, 1996, and 1970 editions showcase how high-speed automation, rapid production quotas, and metal cost adjustments created new waves of errors like off-centered strikes, double die impressions, date shadowing, mint mark misplacement, rim inconsistencies, ghost-like die clash patterns, and unexpected planchet composition mix-ups, which collectors today chase with a level of dedication that rivals gold prospecting. While on the other side of history, the two legends from the 1700s, the 1796 and 1797 draped bust large cents, highlight a totally different type of error. One born from tools that were manually controlled, primitive engraving methods, hand-fed press operations and uncertain design modifications where every piece struck by the early mint was subject to human timing, fragile equipment, and evolving nationwide identity, making the errors of those early coins sacred and historically charged. And when seen together, one realizes that the million-dollar values do not come from perfection but from imperfection, not from a flawless surface but from the anomalies that separate one coin from the thousands or millions that shared its production year. And that is where scarcity becomes the superpower, because when a coin exists in small numbers with a confirmed error type, and when time reduces the number through circulation damage, corrosion, melting, loss, and neglect, the remaining few become icons. And what intensifies the financial potential of these 7 coins combined is the explosive growth of the global collector market, which once belonged mostly to academic historians and American hobbyists but now expands to billionaires, hedge funds, museums, private collectors from Asia, Middle Eastern investors, and new generation digital entrepreneurs who see physical rare coins as a hedge against inflation, economic crisis, currency fluctuation, and digital volatility, increasing demand while supply refuses to grow, pushing value upward as the future number of available error-confirmed, high-grade coins only shrinks, and the psychology behind these values cannot be ignored either, because there is an irresistible emotional reaction when a viewer hears that a penny once worth 1 cent is now valued at $17 million, $18 million, $33 million, because disbelief triggers curiosity, then curiosity triggers research, then research triggers desire, and desire triggers bidding wars that escalate until price surpasses logic. And when a coin becomes more than a metal disc and transforms into a story, a mystery, a rumor, a prize, an heirloom, an investment, and a fragment of American identity, buyers become willing to pay more not just for ownership but for the narrative it grants them. And these 7 coins combined represent not only individual tales but a shared legacy that errors build value, rarity builds desire, time builds significance, and survival builds fortune. And each coin in this list overcame challenges no modern coin faces because they were stored in unpredictable environments, passed through countless hands, survived fires, floods, wars, estate cleanouts, losses, thefts, and redistribution, yet still emerged intact enough for grading, inspection, and historical validation, which is a miracle on its own. And when future collectors look back on the early 21st century, they will marvel at how quickly coin collecting transformed from a niche market to a global investment class, driven by digital education and widespread discovery channels that inform millions of people to check their coins, search attics, preserve inherited collections, and investigate minting dates once overlooked. And as all 7 coins stand before us as a combined testament to America's evolving minting history, from wood-floored, oil-lamplit rooms of the 1700s to high-speed computer-coordinated facilities of the modern era, they form a bridge that shows the transformation of human labor into machine precision. And yet through both eras mistakes occurred. Slip-ups happen, and those mistakes are now the most valuable creations the mint ever produced, proving that perfection rarely holds the highest price, but rarity born from imperfection always does. And whether it is the copper composition weighing slightly more or less than expected in the 1990 60 penny, or the double die contouring suspected in the 1979 D edition, or the missing mint mark silence that turned the 1981 penny into an international sensation, or the deep mechanical ghost image embedded in the 1970 mint mark D penny, or the incomplete wreath details of the treasured 1797, or the edge inscription anomalies found in the 1796. Each era represents a moment in time sealed in metal, unchangeable, unerasable, undeniable, and together valued at figures once believed unreachable for coins that many people never noticed while holding them in their pockets. And the combined estimated value of these 7 coins surpasses hundreds of millions, an amount that in itself speaks to the unstoppable growth of the rare coin economy and the undeniable power of scarcity, legacy, curiosity, and error-driven collectability that continues to expand as more people search and more coins disappear into long-term private vaults where they will sit untouched possibly for centuries, further reducing available supply and enhancing future valuation. Thus making these 7 coins combine not only treasures of American minting but symbols of the extraordinary truth that even the smallest item of everyday life can rise into unimaginable worth when time, history, rarity, and error align in perfect accidental harmony.